1958. Detroit is building the future, and the future runs on fission. 3 years earlier, the Soviet Union connected the world's first nuclear power plant to a civilian grid. America answers with the USS Nautilus, a submarine that can circle the globe without ever refueling. Eisenhower has a phrase for the mood of the country: atoms for peace. If a submarine can run forever on a reactor the size of a delivery van, the engineers at Ford's Advanced Styling Studio ask a simple question: why not a car? The answer they build is called the Nucleon. It has no engine, no transmission, no gas tank. In their place, mounted low between two rear booms, sits a small sealed reactor, not generating electricity directly, but heating a working fluid that drives a steam turbine, the same basic principle as the Nautilus, scaled down to the size of an automobile trunk. The driver sits forward, under a low cantilevered roof, separated from the reactor by the entire length of the car. Ford does not build this to be sold next year. They build it to ask a question in public. What does a car look like once gasoline is optional? The press loves it. Life magazine puts it in front of millions of readers. Model kits go on sale. Children build miniature Nucleons on kitchen tables in towns that will never see a real one. For a few years, the most famous... The Nucleon is not a fantasy sketch. It is an engineered proposal built to roughly 3/8 scale, with a logic that holds together if you accept its premise. The reactor sits in a sealed capsule between the rear booms, not bolted in for the car's lifetime, but designed to be swapped out, the way you'd swap a battery, except the battery weighs as much as a small building. Ford's planners imagine a new kind of filling station for this, a power tower, where a depleted reactor capsule is pulled and a charged one installed in minutes by trained technicians rather than a driver with a gas pump. Different capsules promise different ranges. The literature describes one configuration good for 5,000 miles between swaps, roughly the distance from Detroit to Tokyo and most of the way back. No engine means no muffler, no exhaust note, no vibration through the floor. The cabin is imagined as close to silent, just tires on asphalt and the quiet hum of a turbine doing work a piston engine never could. The styling matches the premise. A glass-domed cockpit up front, sharp double fins at the rear. The whole car balanced visually around the two boom arms that carry the reactor like a counterweight. It looks like nothing else built in Dearborn before or since. Nothing else built in Dearborn before or since was designed around a power source instead of an engine. For a brief moment in 1958, this is what an American car company believed. Here is the number that the Nucleon's stylists were not required to solve, and the engineers could never get around. A nuclear reactor produces neutron and gamma radiation. Keeping that radiation away from a human being sitting a few feet from the core requires mass. Dense shielding, typically water, lead, or borated material, arranged in enough thickness to absorb what the reactor throws off. On a submarine, that shielding is not a design constraint. A submarine displaces thousands of tons, and a few hundred more tons of shielding barely registers. On a 4-passenger automobile, there is no version of that arithmetic that works. By the engineering estimates of the era, adequate shielding for a reactor small enough to fit in a car would have weighed many times more than the rest of the vehicle combined. That would have turned a sedan-sized machine into something closer to a small armored vehicle before it ever turned a wheel. Reactor miniaturization in 1958 has no answer to that problem. It still doesn't, fully, today. Then there's the infrastructure the whole concept depends on. The power tower network. Thousands of stations capable of handling live reactor cores, staffed, secured, licensed, was never costed, never sited, never built. It existed only in the same press materials as the car. And there is the question nobody at the unveiling wanted to ask out loud: what happens to the capsule in a collision? Cold War America already lives with fallout shelters in basements and duck and cover drills in school hallways. A reactor-powered car in every driveway is not a hard sell because people don't understand nuclear power. It's a hard sell because by 1958, they understand it well enough to be careful. Ford never claims otherwise. The Nucleon is published consistently as a study, a question made physical, not a... The Nucleon never gets an engine because it was never going to need one, and it never gets a reactor because nobody alive in 1958 could shield one small enough. What Ford built, the 3/8 scale model, the one photographed for life, the one that became 1,000 desktop kits, survives. It sits today in the collection of the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, Michigan, not far from the assembly line tools that built the cars America actually drove home. The gasoline engine that the Nucleon was designed to make obsolete is still, 7 decades later, sitting under most of the cars on the road. That is the part of this story that doesn't fit the usual shape. This isn't a machine that was buried, suppressed, or covered up. Nobody hid the Nucleon. Ford photographed it, toured it, licensed its image to a toy company, and let it go quietly into a museum case when the engineering didn't close. What's preserved instead is the moment itself. The brief window when an American car company looked at a submarine reactor and a steam turbine and asked, in complete seriousness, whether the family car was next. The answer turned out to be no. The shielding problem was real. The infrastructure was imaginary, and the public's appetite for a reactor parked in the driveway was thinner than the magazine covers suggested. But the question itself is still on display under glass in Dearborn. A car shaped like the 1980s, built in 1958, that never once needed gasoline